Math Learners!
I'm Teacher Yuren,
And I'm Teacher Reniza.
and today we are going to share to you a math trick called Square Rootrix.
Before I introduce the matrix, let us define first what is square root of a number. What is square root of a number? The square root of a number is a number that when multiplied by itself gives the actual number. For example, 2 is the square root of 4 and expressed as square root of 4 is equal to 2. Another example, 3 is the square root of 9 and expressed as square root of 9 is equal to 3. Now, I will introduce a metric called square root tricks. What is square root tricks? Square root tricks is a method to easily solve the square root of a number. Note that this method is only suitable for a perfect square and not greater than 10,000. Again, this method is applicable for perfect square numbers and not greater than 10,000.
As Ms. Ronisa said, this matrix is only suitable for a perfect square number. So what is a perfect square number? A perfect square number is an integer that can be expressed as the square of another integer. So for example, 1 squared is equal to 1, 2 squared is equal to 4, 3 squared is equal to 9, and so on. So before we proceed to our examples, make sure that you are familiar with the perfect squares from 1 to 100. So we have 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, and 100. So we have our first example, square root of 961. So how do we find its square root? So first step is we have to group the given number in pairs of 2 from right. So from right here. So we have our first group, which is 9. So 9 is our first group and 61 is our second group. Our step 2 is to find the 10th digit using the first group. So our first group is 9. So we already have known or familiarized the perfect square. So 9 is already a perfect square. So it is much easier for us to find the 10th digit when the number is a perfect square. So we only have to find its square root. So square root of 9 is 3. So the 10th digit of square root of 961 is 3. But what if the number is not a perfect square? So what will you do? You have to find the nearest perfect square that didn't exceed of our first number. And then you have to find its square root. So for example, we have 5. Number 5 is not a perfect square. So you have to find the nearest perfect square. So it's either it is 4 or 9. So 9 exceed our first number. So we will choose the 4, the number 4. So and after that, you have to find its square root. So square root of 4 is 2. So your 10th digit is number 2. Our third step is to find the ones place digit using the second group. So we have 61 as our second group. So what will we do? We have to notice the last digit number. So it is number 1. And then we have to find a perfect square from 1 to 100 that ends with 1. So we have 1 and 81. And after that, we have to find their square root. So square root of 1 is 1 and square root of 81 is 9. So how will we know if which number is our ones place digit. So let's proceed to our step 4 to know which of the two is our ones place digit. Our fourth step is to multiply the first group that we arrived in step 1 to its consecutive number. So we have 9 as our first group times its consecutive number 10. So we have 9 times 10 is equal to 90. In this case, we have to consider some conditions. So if the first group is greater than the multiplication result, we have to choose the greater result. So if the first group is lesser than the multiplication result, we have to choose the lesser result. So since our first group, which is 9, is less than our multiplication result, which is 90, we will choose the lesser number. So between 1 and 9, we will choose number 1. So therefore, the square root of 961 is 31. So I will give to Ronisa Ido for some examples of 4-digit numbers.
How about if we solve a perfect square number that is a 4-digit number? For example, what is the square root of 7,396? We can solve it using the same step. Step 1. Group the given number in pairs of 2 from the right. 7,396 is the given number, 73 is the first group, and 96 is the second group. Again, 73 is the first group, and 96 is our second group. Step 2. Find the tens digit using our first group. Since 73 is our first group, we will find the nearest perfect square to our basic perfect square from 1 to 100. So the possible nearest perfect square are 64 and 81. We will choose 64 because 81 exceed our first group. So the square root of 64 is equal to 8. So the tens digit is 8. Step 3. Find the ones place digit using our second group. Since 96 is our second group, notice that the last digit of our second group is 6. We will find the possible perfect square from our basic perfect square that ends with 6. So the possible perfect square is 16 and 36. So let's find the square root of 16 and 36. So the square root of 16 is equal to 4 and the square root of 36 is equal to 6. So the possible ones place digit would be 4 or 6. Step 4. Multiply the tens digit that we arrive in step 1 to its consecutive number. So the tens digit is 8 and the consecutive number is 9. So 8 times 9 is equal to 72. We will consider some condition that Ms. Lorraine said. Since 73 is greater than 72, we will choose the bigger number. Therefore, the square root of 7,396 is equal to 86.
That would be all. And I hope you have learned something.
Thank you for watching!